All right, there are all my single target ATMs. Again, we just did it more for the exercise than anything else because I never use one target, one contract ATMs, but they're there just so we could show you how to create them. They're not that difficult to create. Now we're going to get into a little bit more complexity, but you'll be able to see if you can trade two contracts and two targets, you can manipulate your risk reward in your favor. And that's really what this is all about. Okay. Here, if you're going for a 100 tick target, you get 100 ticks worth of risk. You're going to go to +4 when the market gets to 21, and then you're risk free. And if it runs to 100, brilliant. You can either use the de-risk quickly strategies, or you don't have to use them at all. Just let the trade run out and see how you do. All right, that takes care of single target, single contract ATMs. Let's go to section B up here, which is when the PMI on NQ is 50 or less, and I have two target ATMs. How do I want to handle that? All right, well, there's a couple of ways we can do that. All right, we're going to take this first, and we're going to change it around. So I'm going to have to, the first thing you need to do is, a lot of people like to come down here and change this to a 2. You want the order quantity to change from 1 to 2. All right. And then this comes down, well, this will come down automatically to 1. All right, we're going to leave the stop loss the same way where it is. We're going to go for an 11 tick first target. We're going to have a 20 tick stop loss. We're going to add a second target. So you come down here to where it says add, you left click on it, and it creates a new target. Now you got to make sure, because if you say 2 up here, and I've got 3 contracts total down here, 2 on the first target and 1 on the second, it's not going to pay your third target. All right, so you need to make sure that we change this to 1. So I have 1 target, 1 contract to go for 11s. Now I have 1 contract and 1 going to go for 21s. All right, now, how do I figure out my risk reward here? What does my stop have to be? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all the ticks that I would make if I was in profit, and then I'm going to divide it by 2, and that's what my stop loss would be if I'm going for a 1-to-1 risk reward situation. So if I get full targets on this trade, I'm going to be 30 ticks into profit, which means my stop loss should be 30 divided by 2, which is 15. There aren't many trades you're going to get into with 15 ticks worth of stop loss. So I'm going to keep 20 as my minimum stop loss. It's still under the 2-to-1 against me parameter for risk reward that's up here, where I got to be right 66% of the time. But I'm going to go for 10s and 20s, and I'm not going to have any. We're going to stop it. We're going to do this. When my first target gets hit, I'm going to de-risk the trade as soon as my first target gets hit. All right, so I'm not going to have any ATM on my first target. It's going to have to pay my first target, and then I'm going to have a strategy where I de-risk the trade, and if the market runs to my 20s, great. If it doesn't, then the worst that's going to happen is I'm going to break even. So what does that mean, and what does it look like? Well, if I'm going to go for a short target like this, 11s, and why do I say the ATM, the market should be under 50? What I'm looking for is 25% of PMI for my first target. I'm looking for 50% PVI for my second target, and I'm looking for full PVI targets on my third target, but not in this case. Okay, so I'm looking for 25% of PVI and 50% of PVI. So really, when the PVI is 40, then this ATM is going to be okay. All right. So 11s and 21s, what I'm going to do here is this. And I'm going to customize this. When the market pays my 11 tick target. Now, what's the problem with 11 tick target and you're moving your stop loss? The market actually has to go to 12 ticks in order to pay 11s. So what I'm going to do is when I hit 12s, I'm sure that my first target is out. I'm going to move my stop loss to -9. Yeah, -9. I'm not going to bring it and slam it up to +1. How many times have you seen where you've taken out your first target, the market retraces back, collects all those people that moved their stop to +1, and then shoots off and pays 20, 30, 40 ticks more after it's retraced and taken everybody out. So if we leave just a little bit of room for the market to play around in, you'll be surprised how many times the market will come back, take all those +1s out, but won't take out your -9, and will continue and pay all the rest of the targets. Now, if the market does come back and takes you out at -9 on your second target, that's a break even for you. All right. And you get to decide whether you want to re-enter the trade or not, because that -9 is before your entry point. Okay, so you have an opportunity to get back into the trade again if you so desire. Usually once is enough, but let's see how it goes. 12 pay -9. Okay. All right, so let's save this one. Now this is going to go into the B section. So the stop is still 20. I'm going to go for 11s, 2 spaces, 21, 2 spaces, hyphen, 2 spaces, 20. And this is going to be B as in boy, 1A. I'm going for 11s and 21s. I got a 20 tick stop loss. And these can all de-risk quickly. 3 spaces, DR, and I'm good to go. Okay. So there's a 2 target, 2 contract ATM. So I can de-risk quickly once my first target's hit. I de-risk to a minus position. That's a break-even position. Now you can sit up with your feet propped up and relax. And if it hits your second target, it hits your second target. All right. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So let's save this and see what it looks like. All right. So here's BA. So PMI is under 50. I have 11 and 21 with a 20 tick stop loss. You're going to have to be probably around 20 or 30 PVI in order to use this one. Notice that our risk reward isn't even 1-to-1. Our stop would have to be 15 in order to have a 1-to-1 risk reward. So how can we adjust this, make one adjustment and make our risk reward 1-to-1 risk reward? Well, if I go for a 30 tick target on my second contract, I go for 10s and 30s. The total win there would be 40 ticks divided by 2, which means I can use a 20 tick stop loss going for 11s and 31s. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So instead of going for a 21 tick first target, we go for a 31 tick second target. I still use the same stop strategy. It just gives me an extra target to shoot for. Yeah. So this will be 1B. I'm going for 11s and 31s, the 20 tick stop de-risk. Now, let me make a comment here while we're talking about risk reward. All right, when this gets hit right here, 11s and 31s with a 20 tick stop, I'm allowed to go to 40 ticks worth of stop loss. That'll put me at a 2-to-1 against me risk reward relationship. And we see this up here. We're never going to trade more than 2-to-1 against me, right? So if I want to just start my ATM at 40s and drop it down into the to where it needs to be, you can do that as well. Or if I want to start at 20s and I just want to move my stop loss to 40, I'm allowed to do that, but I cannot go past 40 because it puts me in a situation where I'm going more than 2-to-1 against me on my risk reward. Okay. And if it doesn't work at that, then you need to go up to the next set of ATMs, which will give you more risk, but will also make you go for larger targets. All right. My favorite ATM here is going to be the one I'm going to make for you right now for a 2-tick stop. I think a 41 tick target is really nice. Same stop strategy. But now, if my total win, I win 10 and 40, that's 50. I divide that by 2, I can actually increase my stop loss here to 25. Knowing that I can go to 50 ticks in my stop if I need to, and it'll still be at that 2-to-1 ceiling against me. All right, so let's save this one. I'm going to go, this is going to be C. $41s. And now I can change my stop loss to 25s. Okay. 25s is 1-to-1 risk reward on this particular one. If you can get into a trade with 25 ticks worth of risk, which you can do on double failure reversals and some static bars, that's a really nice target on static bars and double failures right there. That's my favorite ATM to use under those circumstances, knowing I can go to 50 if I need 50 in my stop loss. Okay. Is it okay? Let's look at this. All right. So 2 contracts, 2 targets. 2 contracts, 2 targets. If the PMI is under 50, this is what I'm going to use. One of these 3. All right. And I suggest the larger you go on your second target, you can string out your stop loss more than that. Okay. All right. Now let's keep going in the B's. Let's finish out the B's because I want to, before I get into the C's. Remember, I'm still in a relatively low velocity here where the PMI is under 50. All right. But now I want to add another target to this. So let's go for 4 contracts, 3 targets. All right. So now if I'm going to de-risk this trade quickly, when my first target gets hit, I need to have 2 contracts on my first target because I'm going to have 2 outstanding targets left. All right. So this is going to look a little bit different. This will be under B2. We're going to edit this. Now I need to change my order quantity from 2 to 4. I need to up the number of contracts on my first target to 2, and I need to add a third target to it. Why don't we go for 11s, 21s, and 41s? Okay. Now, how do I figure out what my stop loss is going to be? Well, let's add up what I would get on my profits, right? So I have 2 times 10, that's 20, plus 20 is 40, plus 40 is 80, divided by 4 contracts. So now my stop loss goes back to 20, with the understanding that I can move it to 40, but no more than 40. Once we go along. Now, notice we de-risked the second one. Now we have to de-risk this one too. So let's go to 12 minus 9. Here we go. All right, so let's save this template. Now we're going to call it a little bit something a little bit different. So this is 2A. I'm going to go for 11s, 21s, and 41s with the 20 tick stop loss, with the understanding that I can move it to 40 if I need to. Okay. Great. Now let's see, do I have any other ones in that? Let me just check real quick.